Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today we're going to talk about how Democrats can win in future elections and essentially how they can win come 2018 and 2020. So first things first, in order for Democrats to win, it doesn't take much. I mean, the Electoral College is lopsided in their favor. We've seen election year after election year where Democrats obviously have the advantage coming into the Electoral College. If you look at almost every single past media prediction taking the electoral map, Democrats always have a lead with a certain number of states that are always in their column regardless of who the two candidates are. Now, I understand that Donald Trump pretty much reshaped the entire electoral map by winning across the Rust Belt, but these are predominantly Democratic states. They just had a very bad candidate at the time. The GOP didn't necessarily have a good candidate. It doesn't mean Trump is necessarily a good candidate. He's very good at getting his base out to vote, which is something that the Democratic Party, if they did that, would be unstoppable come presidential elections. Looking at their party registration numbers across the United States, it's an estimated 84 million. Yet Hillary Clinton only got 65 million votes in 2016, counting independents. Which means that a considerable portion of the electorate is the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party doesn't need any Republican votes or even the majority of independent votes in order to win elections. They can just get out their own base to come out to vote for them. However, they're starting to lose their grip on a number of Democratic voters, which is what we saw with Trump winning across the Rust Belt. So we'll start by filling in the safe Democratic states and build off from there. So, obviously the Western Coast, the Northeast, pretty much we've seen this blue every single election year. Not much is going to change here, regardless of who the two candidates are. Illinois, safe blue. As for the safe red states, Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, with the exception of the 2nd District, which I pretty much point out every video. Texas is no longer becoming a safe red state, but these are pretty much all the safe red states as we sit today. So 231 electoral votes are now up for grabs. This is by far more toss-up votes than there were back in 2008 or 2012. And this is mainly because Donald Trump has reshaped the electoral map and Democrats have been holding on to Republican states from 2000 and 2004 that should have gone if other states like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania went. States like Virginia, states like Colorado, states like Nevada, but they stayed blue. So we're sort of seeing a big trend going across the United States, but the Democratic Party is pretty much losing its outreach on Democratic voters. Taking every single Democratic voter in the Rust Belt, it would have been a safe Hillary Clinton states. I mean, they would have been called at poll closing time, but they weren't. Because, to be frank and to be completely honest, Democrats don't vote. They never come out to vote the same way that they should, the same way that Republicans do time and time again. And mainly it's because they are majority-minority voters, and minority voters typically don't vote. And the reason behind that is obviously some of them are disenfranchised, coming with polls. They may not have access to get to a polling station. A lot of Democrats may not have the same access as white Americans will. And that's just how it's been across the United States. It's not really, it could be generated based off race, but it's just also made on economic status. So obviously someone who's working really hard and has their own car or whatever, obviously will get to the poll station better than someone who's homeless and pretty much has no way of getting to the polling station other than walking. And in urban cities, I understand that they're closely packed together, but it's not necessarily the easiest thing for Democratic voters to come out to vote. And the same thing can be said for Republican voters, but the majority of Democrats come from urban centers. And as you can see in congressional maps, they're always compacted in small areas. If you look in California, they have extremely big congressional districts around this area of California, but they have really tiny ones. And they pretty much have a larger population than that entire side of California because obviously Republicans are more spread out. As you can see, they win across the Midwest, while Democrats are more compact. New York City, if you look at the rest of New York, pretty much would be a Republican state. Down in the state of Maryland, my county, Baltimore County, a lot of these counties vote Democratic, but the rest of the state votes Republican, which is something different. If you look at states like Massachusetts, Boston area, areas with huge urban areas, this gets a number of Democratic voters, but the rest of the state, Massachusetts not so much, but the rest of the state could be more Republican than just these small urban areas. So obviously that Republicans do not have an advantage when it comes to winning in the inner cities, but when it comes out to congressional districts, this is where they make up for it. But on a presidential level, every vote counts from every single state. So for Democrats to win, they really just need to get out the urban vote. That's all they need to do. They're already doing pretty well with white Americans. I mean, they've been winning or losing by the same margin they have been with 2012, 2008, 2016, but the gap of African American voters increasing for the Republicans is something that the Democrats really need to suppress if they want to win future elections. So Iowa and Ohio, for the sake of this, we're going to give to the Republican. North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Texas, we're also going to give to the Republicans. So This is just a scenario if Republicans got out to vote and got their base supported by one candidate, presumably Donald Trump or just a Republican in general. If Democrats are able to unite their party behind a certain candidate, they would pretty much sweep the entire Rust Belt. They'd sweep Colorado, Nevada, Florida, up in the Northeast. They'd pretty much be able to solidify behind one candidate and win across the United States. But if the Democrats can truly get out their base to vote, the same way they were voted in party registration, the same way that they voted in past election years with someone like Barack Obama in 2008, we could see flips from states that we haven't seen flip in a long time, like Ohio, Iowa. Ohio and Iowa, they've flipped in a while, but I mean states like Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, even a Texas flip. If Democrats are able to get out voters the same way that they should, just based off their party registration, just saying that like 90% of Democratic voters come out, a lot more of this map would be blue. States like Indiana, Missouri could even flip. But they don't come out to vote. And in order for Democrats to get them out to vote, they need someone, again, who can unify the party. They cannot afford another Hillary Clinton to come in. There could be a possibility she wins in 2020. Let's say Hillary Clinton runs, and America is as scared as the Democrats said they should have been back in 2016. And they don't want another 4 years of Trump, and they narrowly elect her. But that would hurt the Democratic Party. Come midterm year 2022, Democrats would be demolished in both the House and the Senate, and they already have a uphill climb in the Senate in 2022. So, I mean, if you look at the map, they really need someone who can pretty much reshape the entire electorate the same way Donald Trump did. To be honest, in 2020, they're not going to win Missouri or Indiana. They're not going to win Texas. Arizona, Georgia is pushing it. Ohio and Iowa is also pushing it. But looking at the way the Democratic candidates have typically gotten out the vote, say Barack Obama, this could be a map for someone who's like Barack Obama, someone who can win white voters and bring out the urban areas. I mean, if you look at the Iowa congressional map from 2016, almost all the state of Iowa was blue back in 2012, but it was almost all red in 2016. A number of Democratic voters have been moving away from this area, moving to the south, or they just typically haven't been coming out to vote. If you watch CNN back in 2016, they kept going to areas like Milwaukee and Wisconsin because the Clinton campaign was telling them that, hey, we have an urban vote out here. Obviously, we're going to expand on our lead. But they never did because they don't have that candidate the same way that Barack Obama got them out to vote, mainly because he was African American. But they really need someone who can really appeal to minorities, get them out to vote. They are already registered Democrats. The thing is, they need to vote. They need to come out and support candidates the same way they've done in 2008, 2012. But when it came for 2016, they really dropped the ball. No one expected a Trump victory, to be honest with you. Trump supporters probably expected a Trump victory, but other than that, the political pundits, even the unbiased ones, didn't think that Trump would win because when they were looking at the numbers, even the Trump campaign, someone from the Trump campaign came on, I believe it was CNN and said, or Fox News, and said they didn't believe their own numbers that showed them winning Wisconsin on Election Day because they thought that they had underestimated it. They didn't believe it themselves. And if you look at where the electorate comes out, when people come out to vote, it typically goes to the Democrat. I mean, the majority of the country, or the plurality of the country, are Democratic voters. Actually, they may be independents, but they still vote Democratic more than they do Republican. It's just they don't vote. That's the thing. When they do come out to vote, we've seen landslide elections like Barack Obama versus John McCain. But when they don't come out to vote, we see Republican victories like George W. Bush again in 2004, or Donald Trump in 2016. All in all, even if minority voters came out to vote for Hillary Clinton the same way they did for Barack Obama, she wouldn't have won Arizona, she wouldn't have won Georgia, she wouldn't have won North Carolina, but she would have probably, she wouldn't have won Ohio or Iowa, but she probably would have won the Rust Belt in the state of Florida. But it didn't happen. So come future elections, to recap, I've been getting off topic a little bit, but just to recap, in order for Democrats to win in future elections, they really need to get out their base. I mean, you cannot stress that enough when you have a number of Americans who are registered under your party, but they don't come out to vote. Whereas the Republicans don't have that many registered voters, yet they win over a number of independents come election time, which is something that really hurts the Democratic Party. So the Democratic Party can afford to lose independents if they get out their base, but the thing is, they never get out their base unless it's an election year like 2008, where it's already a Democratic year. So come future elections, bringing out the Democratic base is something that's really going to need to happen, or we might see another 4 years of Donald Trump. Or even 8 years of someone who's like Donald Trump come 2024. And it may not be the easiest thing for Democrats to get out their base, considering that a number of them are already disenfranchised to come out to vote. They're like, oh, why should I care if Democrats don't care about us? Or if a number of voters are already turning away like you see in the Rust Belt. But ultimately, looking at the numbers now, if Democrats can hold on to their base and hold on to their party numbers, they'll likely win in future elections. But it all comes down to how they campaign, how they bring out voters. Campaign rallies, the DNC would definitely make an effect if you bring it into areas where you need the vote and not hold it in somewhere like Birmingham, Alabama. But yeah, so again, getting out the vote, that's the main thing for the Democratic Party. Comment down suggestions for future videos. I've decided to halt a little bit on the 2020 presidential election predictions because I want to see how it pretty much turns out until April to see how Trump's approval rating is affected. Because I don't want to do one every single day. I want to talk about more topics like this or other topics if you guys want me to. But it all comes down to what you guys want to see. So again, comment down suggestions below. If you want to see more election nights, I have a couple coming up, but I think they'll drop maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, depends on the day. But I'll have a couple election nights with a new theme. It'll be the ABC theme. But yeah, so again, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you all tomorrow.